going to talk about some API stuffs. Let's come over here and let's go up. And you know what? I'm going to spin this up like from the ground up. Because like as you start passion projects and shit, that's something you're going to have to do as well, right? So I'm going to use Ken's gem, frankly, which is terrific for getting started with a new Sinatra application. It's a command line generator. So I'll say, frankly, GiphyAPI demo. Oh, seriously? God damn it. Gem update, frankly. I mean, it must have been there, otherwise it wouldn't. Come on. Maybe I can't have these dashes in the name. All right, I'll actually read it. Ruby Gems 230 specs couldn't find, frankly, among the 564 gems. That's how I spell it, right, James?
Yeah.
Reinstall. The chairman of the board has arrived. Great. Hey, that worked. So it basically just creates all the files that we need in a standard Sinatra application. This pretty much exactly follows the structure of the Sinatra application that you have here at DBC for all of your challenges. So it'll feel very familiar to you.
This is the Sinatra skeleton.
Essentially.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's the Sinatra skeleton, but it's just been like brought into a gem so that you can generate from the command line easily. Kudos to Ken for this one. Oh, seriously, no Kagiri, damn it. All right, well, while that's going, I'm gonna take this time to go and like start researching a bit. So I want to use the Giphy API. Here it is. Ugh, hold on. Copy over here, paste. I don't like to develop under my DBC thing. There we go. All right, the Giphy API. So APIs are the wild, wild west of like dealing with other people's software. What I mean by that is that there's a lot of variance. Some APIs are going to be extremely robust and very well tested and fuck tons of documentation. And some APIs are going to be like, yeah, we got some data here. You should totally look at it. It's awesome. It's the most super sweetest data ever. And that's all it says. You're like, well, you know what I mean? So your mileage may vary there. Giphy's not bad as they go. So looks like new home for our docs, standalone portal. That sounds pretty good. Okay, getting started. So almost all APIs are going to require some sort of authorization. A username and password, or most often a secret token. And that's going to be the case here for the Giphy API as well. So access and API keys. Get an API key. To use the Giphy API key, you'll need to obtain an API key by creating an app. Let's do that. You need a Giphy account to create an app. Don't worry, it's free. Please use the key while you develop your application and experiment with your integrations. Note your API key is subject to rate limiting constraints, and we do not encourage live production deployments to use this key. If you're planning a large scale, grade it. So it sounds like I should make this key thing first. Ugh, log in with Facebook. Come on, do it. Do it now. Okay, well, it looks like I've already got some.
What is the token?
Nice. So a token is instead of a username and a password, it's a username and a password that's been combined down into one string. Right? So this token is unique to me. There's no other token on their system that is this exact token. So when I send off my request, instead of sending like a username and password, I send this token. It reads my token. It's like, oh, hey, what's up, Hunter? Yeah, you can totally access this thing. Here's like your favorite cat gifts. Go to town. Okay? API keys should be secret. And yeah, actually, let's see. This is done. Yes?
So you need
a token to access to get a key, or is it you need the key to get your token?
The token is the key.
They're not two separate things.
API key and token, same,
Okay.
right? Different words, same thing.
Okay.
So you need to keep these keys secret. Why do you need to keep them secret?
Is this your password?
Yeah, it's your password.
You don't want anyone else to interact with it.
Let me see if maybe I can provide you with an example that might stick with you. Let's say hypothetically, okay? Let's say hypothetically that you're a Dev Bootcamp Final Project team, and that you have a set of AWS keys for like running some advanced machine learning on several AWS instances that your app needs in order to like be production ready so it can compute things, right? But you forget to hide your access tokens, and you instead upload them publicly to your GitHub repo where the entire world can see them. And you don't really think anything about that. You just go about your business. You're happily coding away, security. I mean, you're a student. Who cares, right? Except that like a week and a half after you graduate, your team lead gets a bill in the mail from AWS for $4,000. And they call up Amazon. They're like, Amazon, the fuck? Like we have like 4 active users. I'm quite sure that we have not used $4,000 in processing capabilities. And Amazon says, oh yeah, sure, of course, right? No, that side of things is really low key. But these 14 terabytes of Malaysian porn over here, like somebody's going to have to answer for this. There's a lot of throughput, and that's a big deal. And you're like, whoa, what are you talking about? 14 terabytes of Malaysian porn? And you go, well, it's all like running through your key, and there's a bunch of porn, and like somebody's got to pay for it. And you freak out, right? Because A, you don't have $4,000. You just graduated. You're as destitute comes. And B, right? Like, I mean, even so, like, you don't want to pay for like someone else's viewing habits.
Why would someone need your keys to like watch Malaysian?
So they don't have to pay for that.
So they could serve it out for free. So they don't have to pay the hosting cost.
Oh, so somebody else is using it in their app.
Yeah, there you go.
Got it.
Right. So, luckily you come and you talk to your friendly neighborhood Dev Bootcamp instructor who probably had like scolded you about hiding your keys in advance, but you didn't really listen to. And they happen to have a relationship with AWS, and they call them up and they explain things, and you're able to come to an agreement, and like the $4,000 bill went away.
This is based on a true story.
Hypothetical.
It's hypothetical, giant air quotes, hypothetical.
Sure, Hunter.
Okay. So hide your keys, hide your wife, right? Like, great. Yeah. So how do we hide our keys? Let's actually do that first. It's going to be literally the very first thing that we do in this application. So I've got my secret key here, and I need to bring it into my application so that my application can make use of it. But I don't want to do it in anywhere that might be viewable by the outside world, right? So I just got into this Frankly app. It's just been generated. I'm going to get add dot. I'm going to get commit, initial commit. Okay, so there it is. We're all up to speed. We're on the master branch. So I'm going to get check out a branch, right? And like GiphyAPI. Yeah, there we go. This is where I'll be doing my work, because we never work on master because we're not bullshit developers, right? Everyone's shaking their head? Terrific. What I'm going to use to hide my keys is a gem called .env. There's lots of ways you can do this. If you want to use a different way, by all means, have at it. This one's just crazy easy, so it's the one I use. So .env, we scroll down. Usually whenever you're bringing in any gem, you should always check a couple things. How many commits does it have? How many issues does it have? How many pull requests? When was the last time it was updated? Does it have a build passing status? Is that passing status passing, or is it not passing? All good things to look at, right? Like you don't want to, if you're like going to use, if you had a choice between two gems and one of them had 13 commits and 47 issues and was updated 2 years ago, and one of them had, 500 commits and 4 issues and it was updated yesterday. Yes, James?
I was just saying I picked the first one.
Oh, you picked the first one. Yeah, everybody likes a challenge, right? Okay. So that's just like a little tidbit. As far as using it, well, they've got some Rails installation tips right up here at the top, and then they've got, oh, look, Sinatra plain old Ruby. So in Sinatra plain old Ruby, we can install the gem, which means putting it in our gem file. So let's do that first. I need to open this. I'll open up the gem file, and I need to put this gem in. So I just do gem.env. I'll come back out the command line, need to bundle. Anytime you make a change to your gem file, you need to rebundle. And then it says next, I need to run one of these two lines. I'm going to take the long-handed way because I'm long-handed. And this would go somewhere, it says somewhere early in your application's bootstrap process, which means like your application's startup process, how it's getting going. Do we know how an application gets going in Sinatra? And it runs config.ru, right? That's how that works. Config.ru requires the environment file. That's literally the very first thing it does. So environment's a great place for requiring things because it's very early on in that process. And we can see that that's where other things are being required. So someone else had this idea as well. Bootstrapping in the sense of the term that like it's very early on in the process. Yeah. So we'll load in our two lines here, require.env and .env.load. And that's the setup for this thing. Then it says, by default, load will look for a file called .env in the current working directory. What is the current working directory generally of where we start our application? Like if I wanted to spool up Shotgun here, what directory would I do it from? Usually you do it from the root directory of the application, up top. You generally don't drill down into your app from the command line, just as a tip. You generally run 100% of your command line interactions from the root. So it's saying that it's going to look for a file here called .env, and we don't have one of those. We got a .get, but we don't have a .env, so we can just touch one, .env. And now if we LSLA again, now we can see it, there it is. Okay? The .env file is where we're going to keep our secrets. Any secrets that we have we need to keep, we'll keep them in there. But the problem being, oh damn it, it's not a problem. Well, it's not a problem because I'm smart. But it is a problem for you, so I need to explain it.
It's like
Yes.
calling the
It's a problem for us that you're smart.
I'm smart, but
That's not what I meant.
So
I'm sorry.
that
I have
makes
to slow
sense.
down
Not
now.
smart.
You normies.
Damn it.
We're used to it. It's cool.
It's not a problem for me because I have future-proofed my computer for this problem. But it will be a problem for you as you have not yet future-proofed your computer for this problem. And I'll show you how to do both things. God damn it. All right, so you have access to something called a gitignore file, which is the file where you can put things that you want Git to ignore. Well, a file full of secret keys that we don't want uploaded to the internet, it's probably something that we would like to ignore, right? Probably. So we don't have one of those yet, so we can just touch that again as well. .gitignore. And then we can open that file up, and we can just pop in .env. And now, as long as we have not committed this .env file yet, it hasn't been added or committed, so it hasn't been added, then it will be ignored by Git, and Git will never see it. The future proofing that I speak of is you can tell your Git configuration to look for a global gitignore file. Subl tilde / and mine is located in the root of my computer at gitignore global. This is what it looks like. It's got dstore, swap. I don't need databases. I don't need anything from fucking Spotlight. I definitely don't need anything in the recycle bin. I don't need any node modules from npm, and I don't need env. So like my system will never ever look for any of those things. I don't have to worry about updating it every time. So it's a good thing to do. If you want to like Google it, you can find out how to do that pretty quickly. Yeah.
So does that mean when things are like, I guess, bundled and like they try to just shove a bunch of gems or whatever into your computer, it ignores those ones specifically? Is that what that is?
Gems are not installed inside your application. Gems are installed somewhere else,
Okay.
like in the Ruby gems folder.
Okay.
He's saying when you commit something, it won't commit.
When you push up to Git.
It won't even add. Like Git will not see it to be able to track it in the first place. Right? So here, let's say I've let me just get this commit in really quickly. Add.env plus ignore. Boom. Okay, so I'm clean here, right? My git status is clean. Nothing to commit, nothing going on. Let's touch like stuff.txt. And now when I get status, like, hey, there's this untracked file, stuff.txt. Gets like, you got this thing. If I were to do a git add dot right now, it would try to add this file in, and I'd be in trouble. Let's say that I don't want text files. So I'm going to come to my gitignore global or to my local gitignore. Doesn't matter, either way. And I'm going to put .txt in here. And I run my git status again. Oh, come the fuck on. Oh, hashtag I fucked it up. It needs to be star.txt.
But not for env.
Well, because the .env file isn't like I'm taught this is an extension and this is the actual file name, right? So I like doesn't matter what it's called if it ends in txt, like ignore it. And now we go. There we go. The gitignore was modified, but it doesn't know anything about stuff.txt anymore. Doesn't ask me about it. Doesn't know about it. It's all clear.
But it's still in your environment, so when you are running your app, it's able to find.
That's correct. Yeah, it's still locally here on my machine. It's just not going to be anything that's ever checked into version control.
So if you went to another machine,
You wouldn't have it. You'd have to transport that like via USB key or email or something along those lines. All right, so that's the gitignore side of the .env thing. Let's actually open up the .env file. If we go back to the documentation, let's scroll down. Okay, usage. Add your application configuration to .env file in the root of your project. And then this is what they look like. So it's a key equals a value. I told you hashes were going to be useful. They're everywhere, right? I mean, they are. So that's what your .env file is. It's a key and a value. Key and a value, key and a value. The convention is to use all upcase snake case for your key names. So in this case, I'd do like GiphyAPI token equals, and then damn it. What did I do with it? Did I not copy it? I didn't copy it. Copy, paste, back it out. No space between the equal. So it's token equals key. Or rather, key equals fucking value. I'm so sorry. That was confusing. Scratch that. Disregard.
Hunter, can you go back to
Yes.
the API documentation? There was two things there. Neither seem to match that. No, the one where it says that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you just did the secret key equals your secret key goes here,
Yes.
but not the S3 bucket part of it?
This part down here?
No, there's two
Line
lines up there.
above
You
the
did the
secret
second
key
line.
line. The first
What
line.
about
that
the first
says
line?
S3.
I mean, it's just another key.
Oh, it's just another example.
Yeah, I can have 50 bajillion in here if I so need, like Hunter's fave, dish.
Again, I just thought that was like a 2-line thing we needed to have.
Steak.
Right?
A la mofo.
Yeah, a la mofo. So each line is its own key value pairing. Cool?
Uh-huh.
Cool. All right. And then how .env works is that it actually, what happens is when you run that .env load, it adds each one of these to your environmental variable. Every bash has an environmental variable, which is a hash, that contains a bunch of options that tell your bash, your terminal, how to like operate and live its life. Do I have it on here? Print env. I do. So this is my environmental variable, right? It says my terminal is xterm, 256 colors, and my shell is bash, and my MVM like lives at this place over here. So these are all environmental variables that are local to my system. Like I log in as apprentice. So they're only here. They live nowhere else in the universe. So what .env does is it creates another key value pair here. And because it's local to my system can access that information, which is what it says here in the documentation. Env, this is the constant that you use to call out to your local environmental variable in your computer. Square brackets, string, the name of the key that you want. And that's it. That's the entire like hiding your keys workflow. So we'll move on from that.
But you've embedded it just in the project, so if you went to some other part of your computer, it even wouldn't work there, right? Because it's doing it, it's part of like your config.ru file. That's
Oh,
where,
in that folder.
That's correct. Yeah, it would not load into my environmental file from any other place on my computer.
because otherwise, if you wanted to put it everywhere else, you could put it where you had all your config environment variables, and
Right.
you'd be good anywhere on the computer.
But I mean, why would you need to be? You're only going to use that key in one application. You notice that I have 3 keys here for Giphy, right? Like I could probably get away with just one, but like you're supposed to. Every application has its own key. Cool. All right. So back to the documentation. Wow, whatever. Code examples. Sample responses. Hey, this is probably really good information if you're doing research, is to like look over the sample responses. So like, given, what has it got here? It's got like, given this request, which goes to api.giphy.com/v1/gif/search query string funny plus cat and API_key equals my key returns 25 GIF objects that look like this. Right? And then we'll have to, this is great because we can sort of see how their data is structured, because ultimately we're responsible for consuming this data. So it's nice to be able to look at an example. All right. Let's search for search. Yeah, there we go. That's what I want. The search endpoint. So it looks like the destination for this endpoint is api.giphy.com v1 gifs search. So like these two basically get concatenated together. And then it tells me here about a bunch of things that I need to send along for the ride. I am required to send my API key under the key API key, and I am required to send a key Q, which corresponds to a string, which is the thing that I am searching for. Additional options are limit, offset, rating, language, and FMT. Used to indicate the expected response format. The default is JSON. You should leave it at JSON. And then it tells me about the default response, gives me back a Giphy object. Okay, cool. Everybody's sticking with me for the most part? Right. Well, like I said, you can come back and reference the thing after the fact as you're like building out and coding along. So, well, we're done with this .env thing, so that's done. And we're done with our keys, so that's done. And let's go back to our application. We're done with this .env file. I'm going to close that out. We're done with the config.ru. We're done with the gem file. I'm going to touch app controllers, Giphy controller con Giphy's controller.rb. And I'm going to touch app models, Giphy adapter.rb. Do I want to make these into objects? Yeah, fuck it. Why not? brake db generate migration name equals create gifs fees create giffies.
Shouldn't it be under all lowercase?
I'm pretty sure it figures it out. It does. It converts it to camel or snake case for me. All right, so I made the migration. I made a model. I'm going to need another model. I'm going to need to touch app models Giphy.rb. The second model that I made, the first one is I'm going to make a Giphy object. The Giphy adapter is just something that I do. It's a personal sort of coding style of mine. If I make a model that is in charge of interacting with an API, I call that thing an adapter, because I'm adapting their data to my application, and it gives me just like a really nice auditory thing where I like recognize, oh hey, where did I put this code? Oh yeah, I put it in the Giphy adapter, or I put it in the GitHub adapter.
So that's not a general convention?
No, not at all. That's just a thing I do.
Because that's how Max does it too.
That-
So I
well,
thought he probably
Max
could
should say
tell.
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, but it makes sense, right?
Yeah, it's nice.
So I thought it was a convention.
But you
Like I
could
don't-
do it like one long string-ish.
One long string.
I'll show you.
You can show me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, instead of like, never mind.
Okay. So let's go to that migration first. Create Giphies. Create table Giphies. Do t end t dot string image URL t dot timestamps. I think that's all we really need, right? Like we need our Giphy to like show some shit, and we need to maybe know when it's created, and that's it. Okay, so we're done with that. We made our migrations. Let's brake db create, brake db migrate, and brake. I don't have a seed file. We're done. Okay, my migration looks like it worked out okay. In my model, Giphy, oh, fuck me. I spelled it all uppercase. Damn it. App, models, rename. I spelled them both uppercase. I'm so bad at this. Giphy downcase. Giphy adapter. Ah, I'm so terrible. And snake case, Giphy adapter. Hey, that's better. And now I can do class, Giphy, inherits from active record base, end. And we'll go ahead and do this one as well. Class, Giphy adapter, inherits from jack shit.
Typo.
Adapter. There we go. And probably a good time to commit. I've done plenty. So let's take a look. Git s, git add dot. And I like to do a verbose commit. So I'll do git commit dash a dash verbose. Yeah, there we go. And I can run a diff on this thing. So it just opens up your code in an editor. You can write your commit message right up here on the top line. And if you set diff syntax highlighting, then it shows you like exactly what you've added, which can be really handy dandy when you have suddenly recalled that you haven't committed in a long time. So yeah, Giphy model migration plus adapter. Save, close, and upon saving and closing the file, it makes the commit on the command line. Okay, cool. Now that I've got my model, I can test that my migration actually worked out. I should do that. brake console, my bad. And let's do a Giphy.new. It returns me back a Giphy object with an ID and image URL created and updated at. Well, that's what I wanted. Awesome. I'm done here. Moving on. Huh?
Let's see it.
Let's see what?
The Giphy.
Well, there is no Giphy yet. It's just an empty object, right? So now, well, before I can start like dealing with this Giphy adapter, I'm probably going to need a controller route so that I can hit this stuff really quickly. We don't want to get into a situation where we like write a bunch of code here and then we're forced to go and run it in the console. Instead, a much more efficient workflow is to like just give yourself a route, and you can hit that route and just like keep refreshing the page, and every time you refresh the page, it like does whatever action you wanted it to do and prints out the result, which is like way more efficient. So let's go over to the Giphy's controller, and let's run a get to /Giphy Giphy's. So this will be our root route, and it can take a search term. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make my adapter is a model, so it's a class, and I'm just going to make a new one. I'm going to be like Giphy adapter equals Giphy adapter dot new. All right, and now I've got this instance out here that I can like do shit with. So maybe I have like a method like search GIFs. Trying to keep the friggin' spelling conventions right. And I'll p that out.
Where is search GIFs coming from?
It comes from nowhere. I just made it up right now, literally in this instant. So now I've created a dependency in my application, right? This is going to have to match up with something else somewhere in the universe. If I tried to run it right now, it's undefined method search GIFs for a Giphy adapter object. Right? And Ruby, as per the normal, is not lying. There is no method. So, I mean, I'd have to make one of those over here. Def like search GIFs. I think I got that right. GIFs. Yeah. Which takes in like a search. Are you coding along? I'm recording it. Okay.
Really great notes, honestly.
Terrific. Well, share them with the cohort in the resources channel. Pretty please. Right. So I maybe make a method over here. Sure. And now I've satisfied that dependency. I probably need to build a method out. It needs to do something. All right. It's going to get a little bit more complicated now. Sorry. We're going to step it up a notch. There are lots of ways that you can communicate with external sources on the internet in Ruby. There's tons of gems for it. Ruby has a built-in module called NetHTTP, which you can use for making API requests. But NetHTTP is a little cumbersome. I don't particularly care for it. My preferred means of working with API data out on the internet is via a gem called HTTParty, which says it's going to make HTTP fun again. Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. So 1,000 commits. It's been updated within the last year. Looks pretty good. So I need to put the gem in my app. So where do I put it?
You like to party. Did you see that?
Gem file.
Put it in the gem file. Gem HTTPRTY. Go back. All right. Examples. So response equals HTTParty.get some URL out on the internet that we want to go get.
Could you tell me again what HTTP parties do?
So HTTParty is a gem which is going to enable us to send and receive data with third-party sources out on the internet. Right? We've got the NetHTTP module in Ruby which handles that, but it does so poorly. So this is just a way nicer way to do it. So it's the way I teach.
Do you have to include it in the environment too, required?
Maybe. We'll get there. Hold on. Literally 1 second. Okay. So like this is their first part up here. This is the first example where they're like making this variable response that is equal to the result of this HTTParty method .get. And then they can do some stuff with it. Response.body, response.code, response.message. All right, some object that's got a bunch of methods that can be called on it. This is like the inline, like just getting to it way. I very much prefer to do it this way, which is to wrap things up in a class, just like we're doing, right? Like we made an adapter class, so we're going to go this class route. The class route gives you some additional things that you can do with it, like setting a base URI. So if every API request in my Giphy adapter is always going to go to the same base URI, I just set it here. And that way I don't have to repeat myself over and over and over again. And they are. We know from the documentation here that every one of them is going to api.giphy.com.
What's the URI?
The endpoint, the address. Cool. So they set the base URI. They've got an initialize because it's a class. You can initialize it. It takes in service and page. They make an instance variable called options, which looks like it's a hash, has a key of query, the value of which is another hash, which has a key of site and a key of page. The implementation details from here on out are pretty murky in that like they're not specific. You just have to do what you need to do to get your thing to go. And then they've got some methods, questions, and users, each one of which like makes a request out. So self.class. Oh, I'm sorry, Carolyn. Is it Carolyn or Caroline? Okay.
Sweet Caroline.
I was thinking more like Caroline.
Oh, roses.
Sorry. Yeah, right here. What's the first line after their class definition? Include it. Yeah. I would not. Yeah, you want to do this specifically in the class, right? Because this is where we're going to be consuming the code. And then they've got some methods down here which call out. So self. This is going to be this HTTParty class, and then .get is the method you're running against HTTParty. And the arguments, there's two arguments in this case. The first one is the place you're actually going. So in addition to api.stackexchange.com, we want to go to /2.2/questions. So this is the place we're going to. And then the options is it's passing this variable. But you can pass whatever, like you might have that variable, you might have something else, right? Like you pass what you need to pass. And we'll have to figure that out as we go. And then somewhere else, so this would be like our controller code, right? So they're making a new instance, and then they're calling out to those methods. Cool? Awesome. So let's go to town on this thing. So I'm going to come back over to my Giphy adapter, and I'm going to include HTTParty. Did I spell it right? No, it's all caps for the first part. ARTY. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to set my base URI. And I'm going to set mine actually to this v1/gifs because I've used this API before, and I know that like all the endpoints that I want are also going to v1/gifs. So I'm just going to make it part of the base. So we'll take the first part first, and then the second part second. Hey, there we go. So there's my base URI, api.giphy.com v1/gifs. Cool. And I'm actually going to not use the search GIFs for right now. Instead, I'm going to talk to you about what my workflow is. Like I could totally do this because I've used it before and I'm aware of how it works. But I want to do this in the way that I would encourage you to do it, which is a much more like exploratory fashion. So probably a really great first method to write is like a test, like a probing method. So test endpoint maybe, which receives an endpoint. So this way we've got some method we can just like send it a bunch of different things and like try out a bunch of different stuff, and like maybe the API we're using isn't very well documented, and we're trying to find, like, we know the data's there, and we're just like trying to get a hold of it. So we're like, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? Because it's like somebody else's server, and you don't have access to their source code, so like that's what you're left with. It's like guess and check. So I'm following from the documentation, self.class.get, and it needs to go to the endpoint. So I just pass the endpoint here, and I don't have any options yet. I forgot to do that. INITILIZE end. And let's do add options equals a hash which has API token. Was that it? No, API key, I think is what it said. And that's going to be equal to my env Giphy. Shit, what do I call it? This thing.
Giphy API token.
Wow, you do take good notes. Okay, add options is a hash which just has API key, and then let's see, does that match up with what they were doing over here? Query. Well, we'll see. Let's run it. So I'm going to come back out. I'm done with this. Done with this. I really like to keep my files closed down, you know what I mean? And let's Giphy adapter here equals no. Yes. Dot test endpoint, which I'm going to go to search, and we'll see how that goes. And let's P this thing out. Better yet, let's AP this thing out, which means I'm going to need to go back to my gem file and gem awesome print, and then back to my environment file. Fuck you. This one. Yeah, I'm going to have to require awesome print. Okay, cool. Close, close, close. So I'm going to AP the result of this method whenever I go to this route. And I've wrote so much code and we haven't tested any of it. I'm so terrible. Let's get to it. So we need a bundle. And then we'll be shotgun. And we'll go to the specified route. Localhost 9393 slash search. Well, fuck. GipHIES, Giphies slash like cats. Oh no, a giant error. Name error, uninitialized constant, Giphy adapter, HTTParty. Oh, did I not require it? Let's try that. Shut down my server after I require it, restart it.
It was in your gem file, how come you have to require it?
Oh, including in the gem file does not include in your application. Not at all.
Okay.
Including the gem in your gem file only ensures that the gem is installed on your system at the correct version that the gem file specified. You still have to bring it in. Refresh. Okay, I got a blank page, and we come back here. What did I get? Oh God, 400 bad requests. Well, that's very informative. Damn it. Okay. Oh, because I'm not sending the friggin' options. That's probably a problem. Let's try this again. So I can just K this out, right? And this is what I was talking about with like putting it in a route. It's like instead of having to refresh a bunch of stuff, like reload my terminal, all this jazz, like I can literally just go and refresh the page. Still bad request. Okay. Test endpoint takes search. Oh, it might also be because I'm not passing a search term. So let's do, what was it? Was it Q? This Q?
Uh-huh.
Still bad request. Fuck.
Don't you need the queue in your URI?
The options, like this should put it in there for me. But you're saying you want to like hard code this thing here? I mean, we could certainly try that. Let's try it.
Isn't it like api.giphy.com v1 gifs and then like question mark search term?
Right. It's sending along as query params. Actually, let's search first. Let's say HTTParty get params. Look at that. It's almost like someone else has searched for this before. Passing headers and query params in HTTParty. Query method thing. HTTParty.post. Here's the thing, comma, query, headers. Ah, I see. I can't just pass it straight up. I have to pass it as part of a hash here, which is why in their original documentation, it's I was missing this part. I was missing query. Right? That's why they had this nested. Ah, see? Thought I was smart. Hashtag I fucked it up. So then let's do that. Let's QUERY. Wow. And now we've got this nested hash architecture, and let's just turn this puppy back on, K this out, and refresh again. Whoops, wrong thing to refresh. You die. You refresh. Okay, cool. That's a different message. Hooray. Huzzah. A different message. Seriously? You wait. There's going to come a time. You're going to be like 5 hours down some hole or 3 days or whatever. And like a different error message will be the most unbelievable, amazing thing you've ever seen in your entire life.
Sad life.
Okay. So a get to slash Giphy's cats not found 404. Why would it be not found? Query API key env API token dogs. I mean, I'm quite sure there's dogs. Does this need to be slash search? I doubt it, but we'll try it. Hey, look at that. Now I got some data. Now you might be asking yourself, Hunter, what's this awesome print thing? And why would you use it? It seems like an unnecessary dependency. So I'm just going to P the results of this thing. Okay? I'm going to make my terminal nice and small because, you know. And I'm going to P this thing out. So like this is what a typical API response looks like. You know? And you got to figure out like where the funny cat picture is in there. You know what I mean? This has just got brain melt written all over it. Sorry. Awesome print. Oh God. Yeah, look. The server wasn't happy about it either. Awesome print takes this and converts it to this. Right? We talked about this a little in phase 1. It's so crazy much more useful in phase 2 because the scale of the data that you're dealing with is so much more now. So color coded, indented, your data structures are indexed, which is crazy nice. So like you can see actually very clearly how you might get in and consume this data now. Yeah? Yeah, the awesome print gem. And then you use it via AP after you've required it. Or you use extra print if you want to. I'm not really hyping my own thing because that feels wrong. Okay. So, you know, I told you the first thing I usually do is like try this, I run this like test endpoint method. Now that I've got this running, now I'll immediately like convert out what I had in here to whatever whatever I figured out will become the bones of this method down here. All right, I can comment this for the time being, unless I've got other things I need to immediately move on to testing. I go back to my controller, and like I'll turn off my test, and I'll turn on like my actual method. All right, so nothing's really changed except that now we don't have this agnostic thing. So it takes a search, and we're going to need to modify this a little bit. We'll take out the Q dogs because now we're receiving a search. So we'll say add options, square bracket, query, square bracket, Q equals search term. Yeah, so options is a hash, right? Query is the key, the value of which is another hash, right? I want to put a key in there called Q, so I just pass another square bracket. It creates that key and sets the value equal to whatever I pass. Basic hash syntax. Cool? Great. Now let's try this thing out. Let's take it on the road. We'll put this over here. I'll put this over here. And actually, we'll put this here and this here. All right, cats. Wow. I just got the weirdest like pain in the back of my neck. Whatever. We're still getting data, so clearly we got some cats. Yay? All right. So it's time to commit.
Where are the cats?
Oh, they're not there yet. Hold on.
Oh,
Did you comment out your initialize method too after you realized your
I
keys were?
I did not. The initialize method stayed because that's where I'm setting up. That's where I'm bringing in this API key.
But you're not hard coding Q dogs.
I'm no longer hard coding Q. That's correct.
So is the API just pulling in data from the website, so putting it into your app?
Yeah, I'm getting information from the Giphy website. You know, like here's a. Let's try it out. If I take one of these things and I put it over here in my browser, it's a GIF of some cats. Right? Yay! Okay, so parsing that data is going to be next. Right now we need to commit. Get commit, and what have we done? We Giphy adapter hashtag search MVP. I like that. We good?
Minimum viable.
Yeah, minimum viable product. It works. It does the thing. It retrieves URLs of GIFs from the internet based on some search term. It doesn't got to be any more fancy than that. That's time to get that commit in. That way, if I fuck it up down the road, I got a place I can come back to. Right? Like, is functional right here at this moment, right now. Okay. Now we can start dealing with the data a bit. So I'm going to bring this one up here so that we can have like a clean screen to work with.
What's the command to do that?
To move them vertically,
Yarn.
it's Command Control up arrow down arrow, and it works on a line or a block of selected text. Okay. So, right, I need to deal with this data, this search GIFs data here. Okay. Now, single responsibility wise, search GIFs, like it's done. It's done its responsibility in the universe. It went out, it got GIFs. It's done. So, you know, maybe I've got a GIF model. Maybe I could like put a method in here which is responsible now for nay. The Giphy adapter is still the place that is responsible for getting the data, but it's also responsible for formatting the data to how I want it to be. Yeah? So we're encapsulating that. We want to keep all the functionality that's related to this thing in one spot. That way when it breaks, we don't have to look in 5 different spots. So I'm going to make a method down here called def like parse gifs. There we go. Now you can call it whatever you want. Doesn't matter. And I'm going to make, let's say parse gifs takes like gif data. And then up here, instead of just returning this search gifs, no, I'm going to do it in the controller. So instead of APing this thing, I'm going to say @gifs equals this. The result of this search gifs method, whatever that gives us back, that's what this variable is going to equal. And then down below, I'll say GiphyAdapter dot parse gifs, and I'll send it that variable @gifs. And ultimately, I'm going to assign @gifs to be the result of that variable. So maybe this could be like gif data. Hi. Do you need me? Are you leaving?
Just saying hi.
Oh shit, we're late.
What time is
It's 6:05. Fuck. Sorry. The .env thing took too long. We're probably about 15 minutes, 20 max out. If you want to go, you can go. I'm recording it. If you want to stay, you can stay. Bye, Sarah.
You're recording it.
Yes, that's true. So gif data. There we go. So that way our variable names here, I mean, the first way is totally legit. This is just like maybe a little bit more explicit. So I'm calling out to that parse gifs and I'm passing it this data, the raw data from the API, right? And now this method then is going to be in charge of turning it into something usable. So first thing I'm going to do inside of any new method is fucking pee it out, right? Like confirm the thing that I think I have. I'm not going to start writing a bunch of code based on an assumption. I'm going to confirm the thing that I think I have. So we come back and we refresh on cats. BE shotgun helps if the server's running. Refresh. All right, so I'm clearly hitting the method and I'm getting my data. Looks like, I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller. You still read it? You can. Just so it'd be formatted well enough. And then all the way to the top. Oh my God. Oh my God. Actually, I can't go to the top. So all the way down to an index. Shit. Command K this thing, and let's try it one more time. Because we need to be able to see the top of the data structure. There we go. So that we know how to start accessing this giant thing. Right? We talked about nested data structures in phase 1. Well, here's where that stuff really starts to pay off. Because it's up to you to, this data should be in a fairly sanitized format. It should be consistent. Meaning that, you get, say you get back a collection, everything in that collection should be formatted the same. So that you can iterate over and, use the same location within each element to get the particular piece of data that you're looking for. Does that make sense?
Totally, but all I can see is Mr. Pickles.
Is it seriously? Is that what we're looking at, Mr. Pickles?
Hashes are awesome, man. But
Awesome.
We want to see Mr. Pickles.
Yeah. So what data structure is the thing that we're getting back?
Hash.
It's a hash. Yeah. And what probably is the key we want to use on that hash?
Data.
Fucking data. Sweet. Well, let's get to it. You go to hell. All right. So I'm just going to start drilling into this thing right here. Right? Square brackets, data. And let's try that. Refresh. Oh, I should Command K first. And refresh. Oh, it's nil. Why is it nil? Because we got back JSON. JSON don't know about fucking symbols. JSON knows about strings. So we can't use Ruby symbols here. Refresh again. And now I've gotten back just data. What is JSON? JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation, and it is, if not already, will soon be the de facto way of transporting data on the internet. Promise. Because it's crazy easy to work with, and it's standardized, and everybody uses it. It's just, I mean, it's literally, this is JSON. What we're looking at, this is JSON. It's just a big nested data structure. It's arrays and hashes. That's all.
And all the keys are just strings?
And all the keys are strings. Because it's JavaScript, JavaScript doesn't have symbols, so the keys are strings. So we don't get to use symbols in this specific instance. You could, however, for those of you playing the bonus points game, you could like run this JSON through a Ruby JSON parser, like, you know, JSON.parse, that data structure, and then you would be able to symbol it up because Ruby makes it nice and friendly for you. But we really don't need to do that, so I just skipped it. All right, so now that we're in data, data is an array that contains all these objects, so I could just look at any one of my indexes, and I could start looking. Okay, so each index, each interior array element is a hash. Type, slug, URL, bit.ly, embed, username, bunch of stuff here. And then fixed height still, original still, fixed width. Okay, it looks like there's keys for all these different variations of each GIF. So I can get it like as a still image or as a wide image, or I want a fucking GIF, right? That's what I want. So I'm going to stick with the fixed width. I like this one. And that's it. I'm not going to drill any further. I'm going to go one level at a time. So back to my code. And square brackets. Square brackets 0, because this is where we'll be iterating. We'll be iterating over the collection. So I'm just going to look at the first one. I'm just going to hard code in and look at the first one. And like if you wanted, if we really wanted to like stick with my like high horse about doing things one at a time, we'd refresh, and now we'd see that we have, it's a hash, and it is a complete hash of only one Giphy object, JSON object. So now I drill down the next level, which was what? It was fixed width, right? So square bracket string fixed width. I think so too. Command K this thing, back over here, refresh. Oh no, nay, it was not that thing.
So the 0 doesn't have to be string?
The 0 does not have to be a string. The 0 is an index from an array. Right?
Okay.
If I take this off, this data structure, we'll go to the bottom. This is an array. Right? Ruby arrays are accessed by index. So the 0 won't be in our final code at all. I'm just using it as a placeholder right now so I can just look at the first one. In our actual code, we'd be iterating over this collection. And as soon as this is actual code, right? Like currently we're sleuthing and we're detecting. Once we find the place that we want to go in the universe and like we've gotten to our sort of like base case or whatever, then we'll go and make it iterative. So fixed, no, wrong thing to search in. Fixed width, fixed height small. How's that? Let's take that one. Back over here, square bracket string, put it in, Command K, refresh. What the hell? All right, well, clearly I'm missing something, right? Clearly there's a disconnect between this 0 and like my next level down that I think I'm getting that I clearly am not, right? I'm making an assumption about what's happening in the code. I'm failing to be very deliberate in my actions. I'm failing to pay attention to the details, and I'm fucking it up, right? So we same wash, rinse, repeat. We step back a level, we refresh it again, and maybe this time we'd be very deliberate and we take a look. So a hash, then these keys. Oh shit, images. Images sounds like probably a really good place to keep images. I'm going to try that out. So let's do that. Square bracket string images. Drop it out, refresh it. Hey, I got data, and now it's even less data, right? Slowly, every iteration that we're doing here, every time we add on to this sort of address that we're building out, our data set is getting smaller and smaller and smaller until we ultimately like get to the place we want to be, right? So now I am gonna take fixed width, and tack that on the end, and K this out. Try it again. Hey, that's crazy small. There's only like a few things here. It's a hash, I can see, and it's a URL, width, height, MP4. You know what? I want URL probably. So grab this thing, come back over here. I'm gonna tack that on the end, URL. And let's just refresh. Boom, just the URL. Huzzah, right? So this is what I really want. What I really, really want. So now that I've like ultimately gotten to sort of the address that I want to be for my data, and granted, your life is not going to be this easy. For the GiphyAPI, like I only need one piece of data. But what if, say, for instance, here, let's come over here and let's go to code, let's go to reverse phone bank, and let's open.
Show us that URL just so we can see the.
Not quite yet. And let's go to rep adapter, Civic API adapter, yeah, okay, cool. See, it's also really nice because I didn't have to remember what I actually called the thing. I just knew it was some API integration, so I just looked for adapters. So, you know, in the terms of the GiphyAPI, like you're looking for one piece of data. But that's not always going to be the case in life. Like a lot of this stuff you're going to be getting back, and you're going to want to like parse a big payload into, you know, you'll need to pull out like 37 different data points from each element, right? And they're not all going to be located in the same place. So just more complex, but like applying the exact same pattern of what we just went through. And to like show you that, so I've got, oh, hey, look, I've got a method here called parse reps. I actually practice what I preach, just saying. And it starts off at like the high level and like maps over this thing in the data, and then it goes down to the next level and maps over this thing, and then it goes down to the next level and maps over the like this level deep, and each time it's like creating some stuff. Like this is pulling out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines, and then the next level down it's creating some more stuff and then parsing an additional layer, creating more things, parsing more things, wash, rinse, repeat. It's just much more complex than the one thing that we're doing currently with Giphy, but not more difficult. So now that we've got coming back around, now that we've got our like sort of the address of where our URL for this particular GIF lives, now we can start like actually iterating. So I'm going to pop this off. And this thing right here, I'm going to do each. Each, do, GIF, end, and then here, instead of the 0, it's going to be GIF. And then I just square brackets on the end of that thing, right? I'm going to AP this right out front. I'm going to fix my indentation because I don't write bullshit code. And I'm going to refresh. And now I've got a list of them because like just like that, I'm iterating over the entire collection and I'm pulling out this one specific data point from every one of those things. All good? From here, it's like super easy downhill. We'll be done in no time. So because now I've got the data that I want. I've got a Giphy model, so it's just a matter of me saying Giphy.create image URL corresponds with this data point, and now every time I run this, I should be like getting all these GIFs back. And you know what? Maybe I want to be like results. I don't know. Results. Yeah, if I had thought this through more, I should have like put like a tag attribute as a string on my Giphy model. But I didn't, so oh well. So I'm just going to make a results equals an empty array here, and shovel results, shovel this thing, and then return results. That'll be what this method ultimately returns. And we'll come back out here, and we'll AP this to see that that is what happened. Okay, what did I get back? This is my collection that I P'd from the controller. Giphy, ID1, image URL. ID2, image URL. Fucking sweet. Looks like we got a bunch of Giphy objects. Now we got a bunch of Giphy objects. We can very easily send these out to the view. We'll iterate over them in the view. We'll display them, and then we're done.
So the last thing saved them all in your database, is that right?
It did. The last thing is what, yeah, sorry if I just like skipped over the big catastrophe part. The Giphy.create here, right? Giphy is a model that inherits from active record base. So it has the create method on it. So I'm saying Giphy.create, and I'm passing it a hash with this attribute is going to be equal to this value. It's creating those objects. And in a perfect world, I wouldn't even need to put them into an array. Like just the fact that I made them in the database, like I should be good. I wouldn't really need to keep track of them after that. But in the order to like make this more expedient, we're going to do the array thing. Cool? Great. Now I'm going to need a view so we can actually see this thing. So shut down my server, touch, app, no, sorry, make dir, app, views, Giphies, touch, app, views, Giphies, show.erb. Restart the server, and let's go to that show.erb. And this is going to be like our, we'll do an H2 here just to let ourselves know that we're on Giphy search. 5,000 Megatron Transformers movie sucks.
No.
Seriously, if anyone hasn't watched The Last Night yet, I downloaded it for free, and that was too much. It was not worth it.
Can we watch it?
Huh?
Can we watch it?
I mean, you can.
You make it sound like there's been some good Transformer movies somewhere along the way.
The first.
The original question was
Sorry, I apologize. Look, I'm fixing it. Okay, we got things to get through.
that was the original one.
All right, so here in my controller, I've got this GIFs, right? Like my GIFs variable, instance variable. So when I ERB to /Giphies/show, right? It's going to have this variable in scope. So I'll be able to consume this variable out in that view file. So I'm going to get to it.
Isn't the Giphy show just for one Giphy?
Restfully speaking, yes. But, I mean, it's for one search. So shut this down. Here we go. Giphy show, and let's ER. No. For those of you that had Sublime ERB snippets installed, there you go. GIFs, I think. GIF. It really pisses me off that I chose to spell it the way they chose to spell it. It's been terrible. And then PE. And I just want to check on my view that I'm actually getting the data I think I'm getting. Again, I know I am, but lessons learned, right? Like I don't want to spend 20 minutes fucking it up like we were last time. I want to get in here and like very quickly confirm. So I got my Giphy search 5000 and then hey look, a bunch of URLs. That's awesome. Now we're only a hop, skip, and a jump from like cute cat videos or whatever. Mr. Pickles. So I'm just going to wrap this thing in an anchor tag. I'm going to wrap this thing in an LI. Fuck you. I'm going to wrap this thing in an LI tag. And then that's going to get wrapped in an anchor tag. And this part is going to be what goes in the anchor tag as it's... No, not an anchor tag. I'm dumb. An image tag. Thanks for the help, folks. and then that goes in there. This comes, whoops, there we go, this comes out. So image source is going to be the particular GIF that I'm iterating over dot image URL. Yeah? All right, moment of truth, folks. Throwing it up, refreshing the page. Can I get cats? Yay. Maybe I'll lose the list items so that they just display all funky way. They're lightsaber fighting. It's amazing. Oh, there we go. All right, so let's see. Let's try this again. Let's do like Bob. I'm doing Bob Barker.
Barker.
Who's that?
Bob Barker, the Price is Right? Yeah.
He's that guy. That's who Bob Barker is. Yeah. Okay, all right, fine. Coming back up. And pandas.
Wait, so how are you doing this without the server?
I am. I'm entering the URL up here. And every time I hit return, it is going to the server.
Shut down your server.
The server's running. It's going to the server, it's going to the controller, and it's hitting /Giphy/search term. So whatever I type comes in as the search term. I send that search term off to search GIFs, which hits the API, returns me a data payload. Here's my data payload. I write a method to parse over that data payload, sending the payload along the way. Here's my result. And then I write a view which consumes that result. That's the whole kit and caboodle. If we go back, we have pandas. I wonder how many red pandas GIFs there are. We're going to do red space pandas. There's quite a few. Unexpected secret friend. Shh. Okay, that one's super cute. And that's GIFs. So, we can look over the code again one last time as just like a refresher. So let's go over everything that we did here. We got awesome print in the gem file, HTTParty in the gem file, .env in the gem file. In the environment, we had to require awesome print. We had to require .env. We had to load .env. We made a .env file where we put our upcase, snake case key equals our value. We can put as many of these in as we want. We put the .env file in the root of our application. We hid via our gitignore the .env file right off the bat before we ever committed it. And local gitignore or global gitignore, either way. We made our adapter. We required HTTParty. We included HTTParty. We set a base URI that's never going to change. We wrote a testing method to sort of poke around and see if we could find the things we wanted. We made an initialize method. We discovered that the query needed to be a nested hash. We discovered that by reading the documentation. Shocker. And once we got all that working, we made our own search GIFs method, which took our data, went to the place we wanted it to go, along with our options, and dynamically brought us back what we wanted. So a very iterative build of this search process. So it is just magically kapoof, and all of a sudden I was getting GIFs from the internet. Once the search GIFs method was done, we return that data back out to the controller, right? It's not the responsibility of the Giphy adapter's search GIFs to call out to parse GIFs, right? It's not that method's responsibility. We return the data to the controller, and the controller's like, fucking sweet, I got some Giphy data. But it's ugly Giphy data. I'd like it to be pretty Giphy data. Please send it off to the parse method, parse it out, make it all pretty, bring it on back, and we'll take Bella out to the ball. So once we got the payload, and we hit our view, and it's finally time to start seeing something actually happen. Well, probably should also cover that, in the Giphy adapter, that the most labor-intensive portion of the entire thing was this business of very slowly, refreshing the page, seeing the payload. What's my next step? Try that. Refresh the page, see the payload. What's my next step? Wash, rinse, repeat. We also made a migration. Yes, Gwen?
I have a question and then a bunch of other stuff.
Mhm.
How did you know to choose fixed width?
I just chose fixed width. I could have used any of them. They have fixed height, they have fixed width, they have downsampled. I could have used any of them.
Okay, or you
So like I could totally come right here, right? Like currently they're all fixed width, right? Everybody's the same width. So I'm going to change this to, what was the other one? Fixed height. And we'll do this one as QUIN. Probably, I don't know what. Quinn's questions, Quinn's gifts.
That's not how you spell my name.
Oh, hashtag I fucked it up.
Oh,
Come on. Thank God. I just remembered why I always use cats and dogs and cohorts names. Because, like, sometimes when you put in random gift searches in a room full of people, things don't go the way they should, which is bad. So now they're no longer all fixed height. Now they are all the same height. Fixed width, rather. Now they're all the same height. Right? So it just changes the dynamic of the page. There was quite a few of those options. So it turns out the payload, one of the reasons the payload was so long, is because it gives you like 30 different variants of every GIF so that you can use them in different ways. All right? Right, and ultimately we created these things. Like I said, had we like thought this through a little bit more, it would have been really nice to have added like a tag in here that then would have like taken in the tag of the GIF and like what it pertained to, so that then we could like search our own database for GIFs down the road, right? That would like memoize things a little bit. So if we're storing these in the database, we might be able to search and we like give me back the top 25 that have cat in the tag, and then I save myself and my users, because like currently this fucking thing is, well, hold on. Okay. Currently this thing takes like a while. I don't know. Cali. Sure. And 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi, 9 Mississippi, 10 Mississippi, 11 Mississippi, 12 Mississippi, 13 Mississippi, 14 Mississippi, 15 Mississippi, 16 Mississippi, 17 Mississippi, 18 Mississippi. Holy shit. 20 seconds? 20 seconds, no one is still using your site, right? Now, granted, we got a big payload here, but like if we could memoize that stuff, like process the data and store it for later, we could really speed up the experience for our users. What? I don't know. Sit and spin? Yeah, sorry. And that concludes the getting to know APIs breakout. Like I said, I don't expect you to be able to do all this today. It is the first day of phase 2, but I want you to be exposed to it so you know what you're getting into. The process will be very similar when you're using other APIs for your passion projects as you move forward. So now you sort of like have this rattling around in your brain, and you need to start researching those APIs as soon as possible, like today or tomorrow. Okay. Yes?
How would the tags work? Like, how would you use the tag to expedite the search process?
Because I'd stored in my database, and it'd be tagged in my database. So then I could like over here in my controller, I could be like, before I even ever made this thing, I could be like Giphy.where tag params search term, and maybe this would be like at gifs here equals, and then I do like if at gifs.length less than 5, like do all this shit, else there we go. That's exactly how I'd use it. Just like that. I'd search my database for these tags for whatever the user searched for, right? My local database, quick, right? And then I'd like probably run some conditional on it, and I'd say, hey, if I got back less than 5 searches out of my database, then go hit the API and like get me a bunch. But if I didn't, then like it skips all this code, including the gigantic 20-second API call, and it just renders right out to Giphy's show, which can, the same variable has already been defined in scope. Right? Yo.
So I know our passion projects are supposed to have CSS and test scripts
Mhm.
and stuff like that, but this part that you showed us, would that be equivalent to something that would satisfy the passion project requirements?
I mean, I would really super duper prefer that you didn't use the Giphy API.
Yeah, no, I'm not just saying, is this an
But
example?
this workflow is exactly what I'm talking about, yes. So, and there's hundreds of thousands. Well, I don't know. There's thousands of APIs. Tons. Maybe a quick Google search around like good APIs for junior developers would probably like provide some good reading. And like if you're not quite sure what you want to do with a passion project, your project will to a certain extent be data driven. So probably a good idea to do that research very early on and like see if there's any data that really jumps out at you and you can consume it. Cool? Yes?
Is there anything in your Giphy model? In that
There's
class?
jack shit in my Giphy model.
Okay.
There is exactly the bare minimum of what is required in a model in order for it to hook up to Active Record.
Got it.
Class Giphy inherits from Active Record base, and that's that. The bare minimum. Because I really don't have any other functionality I need for it right now. I mean, I suppose I should probably validate the image URL because I don't really want a GIF that doesn't have an image URL. Yeah. All right, I'm hitting the button.